And we are live for the second episode of Hot Take Express with Kent Chamberlain. And not only are we live, but I didn't even write a script for this one. I had a script for the other one, which is why you saw me going like, every now and then. But like, no script this time. No script! I'm, just raw dog in reality with you right now. So, why? Because I went to town, and then I heard like news that was about a week old at that time, and I just had to reply to it. But like, I've only got like a day to reply, so before I go back to town again. So I'm rushing this. But I've given it some thought. I've given a lot of relevant videos, some thorough views and reviews, and I think, and I've talked to a good number of people, and I think I know what I think about it, because I didn't want to just rush in, guns blazing, Leroy Jenkins, because what happened with the CPI is a crying shame, and this is a moment where a lot of damage has already been done. More could be done, and you really need to, be careful. You really want to weigh every word. So, let me tell you, the gist of it. For those who don't know, Caleb Maupin, the leader of the CPI, was accused credibly by a lot of people in the CPI of various abuses and manipulations and whatnot. And there are a lot of people that feel a lot of different ways about those accusations. There are people who are like, just rush to believe them. There are people who rush to deny them. There are good reasons for doing both. And there's not an obvious correct side here. Like, I do not want to be a liberal fence sitter about anything, but I guess the only correct side is not to let this divide us, and to move forward with what the CPI was doing. Because here's the thing. Those who say that the charges are accurate, and for the record, I believe them. In my interactions with the CPI, that thing leaked drama like a sieve, as effective as it was, and it was very effective, and it did leak drama like a sieve, even in the best of times, and, I mean, it never seemed that serious. But then again, both Yankee Tanky and Dust come from that milieu. And, those are the dudes with YouTube channels. A rotten tree will bear rotten fruits, and the fruits weren't always rotten. In fact, they weren't usually rotten, but there were certainly enough dramatic fruits that, you start wondering about if everything's okay with the tree. And seeing those things, it does appear that, yes, that seems to explain a lot that was happening behind the scenes, that kind of made me confused. At first, I'm not going to get into all of it because a lot of it's just personal stuff that doesn't need to see the light of the internet. and anyone really trying to dig into that, like, I mean, is just exploiting a bad situation, an already bad situation for the publicity. So, like, because rest assured, the enemies of patriotic socialism are rejoicing right now. The people that want to deny this, like, and I get that instinct. I am, like, just on a level of facts, like, I'm with the people that, like, are, denounced Caleb, like, on the issue of, like, well, what are we gonna do about it? I'm with the people that are denying this, because, like, they got the right political instinct. Caleb was doing good work, okay? Caleb needs to get right with his Jesus, maybe on some personal issues, but that's between him and Jesus, and the CPI was doing good work, and it needs to march on under new guise. So the CPI getting dissolved was really the worst thing. One more thing I will say about the denialist camp. Like, yes, it is a common tactic of the imperialists to, if they can't get you to, like, do some adventurous crap, if they can't ding you on anything else, they will see if they can ding you on your private perversions. They will see if they can embarrass you with your kinks and whatever. Like, this is why it's best to live a godly and righteous life, and to love one woman or man as, the Lord may have made you, but or non-binary, but, like, I just don't see, the only real counter to this imperialist trick of doxing you, basically, is to lead a righteous life. And every time you don't lead a righteous life, it's just like a little tiny corner of liberalism, of your heart that you're giving over to liberalism. You're giving over to the devil. The same thing, really. And jeez, I've got, like, Erewhon hands. Yeah, it's crazy. But so you gotta lead a righteous life, and I mean, but. And if they can't, but here's another thing, though. If the imperialists can't find anything, they will make crap up sometimes, if that's what it takes. So, that said, I mean, I think the facts of the case are factual, like, according to the denunciation, but I don't think that's the end of the story for Caleb. I believe in a God that, and this isn't really communism necessarily, but it's sort of a more primitive, more based communism in a way. I believe in a God that believes in second chances. What's woker than woke is forgiveness. Forgiveness isn't woke. Forgiveness is deeper than woke. Forgiveness is better than woke. Forgiveness is righteous. Yeah, it's righteous. I like that word. It needs to come back. Like, that was one thing the hippies got right, was the use of the word righteous. They didn't get much right, but that was one. Anyway, no, like, what were we talking about? Shoot, I do this. I like, lose my train of thought. But yeah, no, Caleb needs to get right with his God, but that dude is, like, brilliant, okay? Like, he's got, like, an encyclopedic knowledge of, communist history, both in this country and abroad. And, like, except for some of this land back stuff that the CPI has been going towards, but it seems that Dust has been the one dragging them that way. Except for, like, some of that stuff lately, like, I've got no real disagreements with Caleb, honestly, like just on like factual stuff. And so like, the imperialists may be using stuff from his private life against him. But so I don't think that just denying is the most effective thing. Like, I believe in times past that communist historiography has told intentional lies, but I mean, in different material conditions that might have made sense, but I believe in these material conditions it makes the most sense to tell the truth, even when it doesn't benefit us. And that's how they'll know we tell the truth, is because we say things that don't benefit us. And that's future historians will be, even if like their propaganda raised them to be like, no, these people were bad, the way that we were raised to believe Stalin was bad. Like, just the fact that we told the truth even when it hurt our own interests will tell those historians of the righteousness of our cause in a way that cannot be disproven by any sort of propaganda. So, yeah, so I gotta be honest about this Caleb situation. Like, literal denialism, no. But I do believe very strongly in forgiveness. Like, the wokes don't believe in forgiveness, but it's a righteous concept. That's where I was going, yes. And, but true forgiveness it's not cheap forgiveness. It's not like, and I've seen like some Calvinists maybe do this, or like, I'm part of the elect, so like I don't have to worry about it. Or like Calvinist lights, like, well, I said the sinner's prayer, so I'm saved now. Like, I have a ticket to sin, like, and it doesn't matter because I'm going to heaven anyway. Saved, and that sort of mindset is like cheap forgiveness. I don't know if that necessarily counts. I mean, like, so as far as my Christian background, I'm like sort of a member of no church, but because like I've got issues with all of them, but like my background is half evangelical and half Orthodox, like Eastern Orthodox. Like, my sister is Russian Orthodox. I've gone to Greek Orthodox and Coptic Orthodox churches. I mean, like, I actually speak Coptic, the modern form of ancient Egyptian. It's basically a dead language outside of that church and archaeology, so I can speak it as well as any your average modern speaker can, which is to say, I can do the liturgy. I will sing the Hetinis sometime on stream, probably this winter, and you'll get to hear me speak Coptic. That's a beautiful song anyway. But anyway, I super digress. But anyway, I digress because I'm trying to explain Orthodox soteriology, or like the idea of salvation, is different from Protestant. Protestantism has this once saved, always saved mentality that in theory denounces cheap grace, but in practice kind of emphasizes it. Whereas like, because like, if the salvation by works thing that the Catholics had, they kind of edged off from it a little bit, moved towards the Protestant position a little in the 90s, I believe. But that's iced tea. I drink iced tea, like water, like unnamed water beverages. But no, so like, what were we talking about? Righteousness, forgiveness, or orthodoxy, yes. The way I came to understand it was like salvation. So if Protestantism is salvation by faith, and Catholicism, old school Catholicism, was salvation by works, I guess the way I described Orthodox salvation was like salvation by love. You were saved by loving God back enough to follow Him. And that doesn't just... I mean, like, God's gift of salvation is free, but you have to accept it. And accepting it isn't just like, yay, I recited the formula once, and so I'm saved. But it's like living a life, basically, of solidarity and comradeship with Jesus of Nazareth. and the rest of the Godhead. But like, so when I say that, like, I believe in forgiveness, that's the kind of forgiveness I believe in. Forgiveness isn't cheap. God's Son had to die for it, and like, in forgiveness among men, among humans, shouldn't be cheap either. Just because someone's like our close political ally, someone who is dear to us, someone who's been a teacher and a mentor, we can't just like wave away times when they really deserve. They and the people they've wronged deserve accountability. So like, Caleb does need, when I say he needs to get right with his Jesus, that's not just a folksy euphemism. That's like, he needs to get right with God. He needs to make the wrong things right. He needs to repent of his actions. He needs to humble himself before the Lord. And he needs to take steps to address whatever caused him to do that, so he won't do it again. And he needs to also make things right with his wife, especially because, like, family is one of the greatest gifts God has given us, and Caleb needs a helpmeet like anyone. And, the one God has given him deserves respect and hasn't really gotten it, I don't feel, in this entire affair. And, yeah, like, basically, we gotta, like, I want to see Caleb back at the forefront of this fight, because he is like a great, knowledgeable comrade, and, we need his dedication, and, like, he has taken real risks, like, he stood down the Saudi military once, like, in person. He's obviously been messed with by the feds before, like when he went to help oversee the Nicaraguan elections. So he's done really, really good work, and we need people like him, and him too, like, back on the front lines. And so, like, I want him to take this hard work necessary to become a better communist, a better person, because we miss him, and he is always welcome back, as far as I'm concerned. An actual effort of repentance will be honored by God and honored by me. And I wish Caleb and his wife and family the best as they get through this. And I wish the people he wronged the best as they are at the center of a shitstorm now, and, like, they didn't have a great way forward, and they had to choose one path or another, and they finally got to a point where they chose this path, and now they're here. And, like, I sympathize. I've been in similar situations to what they have, so which is why I'm going to go out on a limb and say what I think is right, even though it might harm my political interests to do so, is because, like, I really do understand the situation, and I really do understand what these people are going through. But I also understand the political imperative to rebuild the CPI. And that is a thing that needs to, that needs our focus. And what's more, I was watching the very last video posted on Caleb's channel, and, like, yeah, just right before this, before I recorded. Well, I took a shower, I gotta show you guys my place. I am so proud of like all the stuff I can fit in this little tiny thing. That's actually my bed up there. Like, I've got like all kinds of crap. It's just stored. But like, and then like behind here, I've got like a hammock, which is where I actually sleep. But digressing hard. But yeah, like, I gotta show you guys all that. But what were we talking about? Caleb, CPI. Oh yeah, his old boy's last speech. So like, if you get to like about the 30-minute mark in that speech, yeah, it's like it's called like a storm is coming, and I could clip it, but I don't know if it's necessary. I might link it, but just watch that speech. It's a good speech. And I liked the fact that he did kind of row back the land backaroo shit a little bit. He mentioned that like like we all saw that the Uhuru guys didn't stand for the the national anthem, and we respect that. That's okay. Like they disagree with our patriotic socialism, our revolutionary patriotic socialism, but like they're under attack by the government, and that's what matters. But just what he was talking like, but if you and I actually agree with that position, and I appreciate that like there was that specification. I wasn't there. I didn't really get a report from the play-by-plays before any of the videos were released, so I'm kind of watching them in real time, like with the rest of you. But yeah, I mean, like, I was hoping that Caleb himself hadn't really gone down the land backaroo path, and it was good to hear that, like, that this all was really just an act of solidarity with people getting attacked by the FBI. So that's cool. Yes, let's see. More unnamed iced tea beverage. Oh dear, I'm out. Alright, well, water it be then. Yeah, you get to the 30-minute mark of that speech, and I'm pretty sure he knew it was coming. All of this, it was going to leak. I don't know what was really said to him behind the scenes. I don't know exactly what all went down, if anyone was like talking to him, making threats or extortions or whatever, or even just saying like, hey, we're going to publish this, or like whatever. But he knew something was afoot. He knew something was coming down the pipeline. And because he speaks with real emotion, and it's like, I don't know if anyone in the room necessarily, other than the people that made the accusations, really could have seen what he was thinking at that moment. Because like it was like a beautiful piece of pageantry, and yeah, like the guy really does understand symbolic language quite well. The CPI events are always very well staged and look snazzy as hell. Because dude's got like a flair for the artistic, and if I was gonna write this scene, I would have written it the way Caleb wrote his speech. Like, I would have addressed what I knew was coming, and I would have but in some sort of political doublespeak, where like I'm ostensibly talking about one thing, but I'm really talking about what I know is going to happen. And I think that is the last published video on his channel for a reason. It's a message to what he knew was coming. Now But that's just something I noticed, and I don't know if anyone else picked up on that. What else do I gotta say about Caleb? I think anyone just like talking shit about Caleb is being really insensitive, actually. Yeah, he fucked up. He needs Jesus. We all need Jesus. We all fuck up. Maybe not quite this bad, but, you know, this is nowhere near as bad as, like, a lot of people fuck up. Caleb is a saint compared to anyone in the ruling class, any of the bourgeoisie. All right, like, I would happily still be, you know, vote for Caleb for president compared to anyone on offer from either party. Like, you know, we're not quite like third world bombing pedophile level here. You know, it's not that bad. But yeah, it's not that bad. Anyway, so, what else do I want to say? Yeah, like, I think part of the denialism camp, is just like, well, it's one of the stages of grief. So people that are just being dicks about the situation, making like jokes about Caleb or the CPI now, or like, and I've seen it. It's garbage. It's really just gutter trash, fascist level filth. Screw those people. All right, like, you know, they're mocking us for the crime of anti-imperialism, for daring to hope for a better world and organizing for it. And like, you know, you can acknowledge the truth about what happened and be sympathetic to that grief. Like, I feel like that is the most accurate line, because it's grief for something real that, like, was important and was doing good work. And that people, and like, you read these accusations and look at how much these people sacrificed. Like, I actually gotta give props to Yankee Tanky here. Like, dude mortgaged his blessed life. He sold all his stuff to, you know, like, keep the cause going, to keep his comrades fed. Like, you know, your first duty is the means of providing the means of survival for yourself. And sure, he failed in that. Like, he was a little idealistic in that way. But, you know, it's an error, but, like, it's an error of meaning too well. Like, I can't hate someone for that error. I just gotta be like, yo, dude, you know, like, you gotta take care of yourself too, you know? Like, it's okay to be a little selfish. Like, be like, no, that's, you know, like, it's okay. But, you know, like, anyway, so, you know, a lot of people sacrificed a lot to make this happen, to be, like, an anti-imperialist voice from within America itself. We're rarer than hen's teeth. Like, there are people in the third world that are just going to be like, he's still the most righteous American I have ever heard of, and that's probably going to remain true, because most of the people, most of the Americans, like, foreigners hear about, are not the good ones. We're not sending our best. A wise man once said. Yeah. So, like, but what? So, like, the one thing that, like, I've heard everyone say, you know, whether they're denying it or whether they think that, like, you know, like, it happened, and, like, unless they're like the anti-Patsock folks, but everyone, like, I guess that's, like, operating in good faith here, shall we say, so everyone but the anti-Patsock folks, they're, like, agreed on one thing, but it's the most important thing. And if I had anything to add, to emphasize, it would just be to say this. The CPI needs to be rebuilt. I don't know if it's going to be just like a bunch of little pre-existing orgs like the Tobar Collective stepping up and, organizing a couple people here and there. I don't know if it's going to be like, someone's just going to be building CPI 2.0, or they'll name it something else, but it'll be basically the CPI. I don't know. I'm not sure what form it will take. All I want to say is that the Tobar Collective wants to help. We've got access to a lot of land and a lot of scenery. I do not have access to as much housing as I would like, but if you want a retreat, you can have the deserts of rural Nevada and like all the necessaries of life provided to you for free. Courtesy of the collective. And so if the CPI wants to do like retreats for educational events, get in touch, talk to me. I want to help. We can pick people up from Salt Lake City Airport. That's about 2 hours away. 2.5, 3 the way I drive. I've got like an old car, so I try to do 55. I'm that guy. Yeah. You're welcome. Anyway, let's see. Yeah, that's one thing I can offer. I'm glad I chose to start start making YouTube videos when I did. And not only that, but I think I'm going to just preemptively upload them to some other services. I'm going to look into Rumble. I'm going to look into, I think there's one called Odyssey. But yeah, like, it's definitely, I'm only getting started, but I'm also not intending to pull my punches, and if they pull me off of YouTube, I'm fine with that. I just want to have, like, not be losing, digital archives when that happens. Yeah, but I will speak my mind, and I will speak the truth. I will speak the full truth, and if I can't do it on YouTube, I'll do it somewhere else. Oh, and that's another thing. I decided I'm going to start a locals for my commie stuff, and you can still use my Patreon, and I'll link it in the description because I don't have the locals yet, but yeah, I'm going to go with the locals, and that just seems like the best way to go. I do not need to find out that I am going to be broke because, the deep state decided to censor me. So, yeah, we're going to set up a locals. But, plus, that way, it can be more super chatty. You can just give me, like, $5 for a question or something. But, anyway, so yeah, we're talking about, like, I'm going to try to fill in the gaps on, like, communist history. I do not know enough about that particular subject to say that, like, I could do as good of a job as Caleb. He knows far more than I do. But I can study up, and I will do my best to do that here and there, and, like, I guess my vision for this channel is to not just be talking about, like, the, Pat Sock tea of the moment, but also to be, like, doing deep dives into history, and I'll give you tours of the collective every now and then to show you guys what I'm up to. It's going to be a real variety channel. Like, some days we're going to be talking about, like, the history of socialist Albania. Some days we're going to be talking about, like, just the news. Some days we're going to be talking about, like, how to garden potatoes in the desert. It's going to be a real variety show of a YouTube channel. But that might actually help to get more people interested, to broaden the net, so to speak. Reach out to all different kinds of demographics. But anyway, This is a much shorter video than the last, just addressing the CPI controversy. I don't have like a... Well, I guess we could go into the news. Let me see. What happened? Yeah, I guess the Trump raids, happened. The FBI is admitting now that, they, told Facebook and Twitter to not let the Hunter Biden laptop story run before the election because they thought it was Russian psyop or whatever. That might actually constitute the steal. Like, I don't believe that, Hugo Chavez rising from the dead and, puppeteering Dominion systems, whatever, no. But as a communist, I recognize that bourgeois democracy is routinely fiddled with by the bourgeoisie to produce outcomes favorable to the bourgeoisie. The steal is baked into the premise. Like, they've all been stolen. Trump is just the first one to say so out loud. And he's saying so not with a solid knowledge of theory, but like knowing as much about anything as Trump knows. And so it's not going to be a very sophisticated analysis, shall we say, but that doesn't mean it's wrong. In a fundamental level, the deep state did not want Donald Trump to win the election, so they figured out a way to make that happen. Yeah, they've got people all over the media. They've got people, they've got people in social media now. BreadTube serves imperialism revealed that. If the behavior of people like Vosh didn't. Yeah, so that was some news. I'm trying to think what else is in the headlines these days. Oh, people are dying in UPS warehouses and trucks. Yeah, so imagine that. You paint a truck brown, you don't stick any air conditioning in it, and it gets to be like 150 degrees inside, and people are dying. Even Amazon they installed an AC unit in one of their warehouses after someone died of heat exhaustion. Like, if you have less of a heart than Jeff Bezos, like, you really just gotta figure out, you gotta get right with your Jesus more than anyone. Like, whoever owns stock in UPS, like, hold their feet to the fire, man, or you're part of the problem. Yeah, trying to think what else is in the news. I haven't heard a lot about Ukraine. Like, when I go to town, like, I don't really have the time to watch live streams there, and I haven't figured out a way to download videos from Rumble yet. So that means I can't watch the spicier parts of Jackson's streams anymore. I have no idea what's going on in Ukraine other than what the deep state propaganda on CNN and whatnot says. Like, or hell, actually don't even watch CNN. Breaking Points. And I don't even think those guys are deep state. I just think that it's like they got that. The algorithm helped them not because they are with the deep state, but because they happen to already naturally believe views that align with what the deep state wants socialists and progressives and right-wing populists to think. So, yeah. Breaking Points is telling me that... and I did download... I haven't seen more than the titles yet, but... yeah, I'm sure that... I know that Haas and Jackson are talking about it. The daughter of Alexander Dugin was assassinated. The Ukrainians are pretending that they didn't do it. We all know that's crap. And even Breaking Points is saying that like they're going that the hardliners in Russia are starting to prevail in the internal debates about the special military operation, and I find that incredibly interesting. Like during the Cold War, they tried to portray every assassination and like charge of espionage and whatnot in Stalin's USSR as propaganda used to cover up their disappearing of subversives. But like, no, that really happened, and we're seeing a repeat of like the Kirov assassinations and whatnot. The Kirov assassination and whatnot. Yeah, like just because Moscow has a very centralized, powerful state compared to, say, ours, does not mean that they can prevent every act of terrorism within their borders. These things happen, and they happen to allies of Putin, not just enemies of Putin. It's all part of the institutional inheritance of Genghis Khan's Yasa. Political disputes get settled by violence a lot more often in Eurasia than in the West. That's just how things roll. Like that's, and they can thank being conquered by the Mongols for that. But yeah, like she was assassinated, and that is a real escalation because they weren't trying to get the daughter, they were trying to get Dugin himself. They failed, and she was collateral, but that's almost even worse. Like, Dugin is demanded, like, well, I thought his statement was pretty chill. Like, he was just like, please win. Like, after just mentioning his daughter's sacrifice really humbly, and I don't want to give the wrong impression here, but yeah, sweetly. Like, a man deeply moved by the loss of his daughter, and just with words short, sweet, and poetic, just telling Putin, please win. Yeah, I don't agree with everything Dugin thinks, but speaking of righteousness, that was a moment of righteousness. And like, I hope the hardliners do predominate, because Russia isn't even throwing, like, they're not trying yet, right? And it's been at least Breaking Points is telling me it's been a stalemate for a couple months. The mainstream media is telling me it's been a stalemate. I don't know. I know that, like, the assault on Crimea never happened. They just launched a couple rockets and called it a day. But like, beyond that, I don't really know what's going on. But if it is a stalemate, and then, like, the hardliners predominating in Moscow means that the stalemate could be broken, and they could overwhelm the Ukrainian front, move on to Odessa, move on to wherever else they intend to move on to. Because what the West has in mind, they want this to be a long war. They want to fight Russia to the last Ukrainian. And that's not good for anybody. So maybe a little bit of a hard line is, right now in Moscow, is the quickest way to peace. Because Ukraine cannot win this war. Even Henry Kissinger admits that. And is an enemy of the Ukrainian state for it. Like, the Ukrainians, yeah, the Ukrofash are bombing journalists that disagree with them now. It's yeah, real civilized, real liberal. But anyway, yeah. So that was an escalation of the war. Was assassination of Dugin's daughter. I'm trying to think what else is going on. Yeah. That's about it. We need to build a new CPI, guys. Tobar wants to help. Get in touch. As always, I'm gonna drop like how you can pay me in to support this praxis down in the comments. I'm going to drop a link to my magnum opus, Class Analysis and Revolution. And yeah, I still need to think of a way to close this. But until then, peace.